Hello, everyone. Welcome to New Homeschool Episode 6. I'm your co-host, Mary, a new mom, with our president of New Homeschool, Sandy Staling. We have created the New Homeschool as the first steps for individuals and the nation's united universal university that eventually leads into a real purpose with the all-solar research vessels into becoming more aware with self-sufficient communities where each individual supports each other realistically. On the show, we are going to talk with Jillian Maisai Epperly, an independent researcher and health practitioner. Her mission statement is to finally give people the option to be 100% independent of allopathic care, homeopathic care, naturopathic care without the need for herbs, supplements, and pharmaceuticals, with the option to reverse 100% all of their issues, as well as the ability to regrow their cell structures, optimizing their body's business process, maximizing their productivity levels. Jillian, as you know, it's not easy to share with the world something of a real benefit. It's not been easy for you to share this ancient recipe with others. Would you like to introduce yourself and begin to tell us all about what Jilly Juice is and why you're so passionate about sharing it with others?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. Long time coming, considering that we all met when I had my first group open up a few years ago. So why I'm so passionate about Jilly Juice is because I was dealing with my own health issues, premenstrual dysphoric disorder, and it was getting in the way of my life. And through a lot of extensive research, I focused on one of the three things that is killing humanity, basically destroying it. That's why we die, okay? And I was focusing on the candida, okay, which is cancer. There's other names for it, like yeast infections, and this is the different names of cancers. So the other two areas that you would die from is a hormonal imbalance, as well as an overproduction of natural killer cells. So that's all that research came within the last year, I would say. So what I found with Jilly Juice, that which is basically cabbage, water, and salt, okay, and as well as a kale. And what that does is that you're taking in strategic nutrition, okay? So what is the strategic nutrition? Well, when you lacto-ferment something, you're breaking it down to a pre-digested state. And the ingredients is cabbage or kale. And, of course, when you look up the nutrients that comprise cabbage and kale, it's everything the body needs to regenerate cells. So this is how I made that leap that, we could potentially live indefinitely if we are constantly regenerating cells at a very deep level, not like the superficial level that we have right now today, which is causing us to die at some point in the matrix, so to speak, but really to where you don't even know how old the person is. You would think that they're 30 years old because they're constantly regenerating cells or being destroyed or being mutated by the environment relative to exposure. Okay, so I figured out that, okay, so nutrients, regenerate cells, and then the water is the carrier force. And the salt, which is a pink Himalayan salt, which has ancestral knowledge because it's from the Himalayan mountains. It's not sea salt that's subject to fluctuations in the area, but they're blasting the pink salt out of the mountains, and then they're selling it. And in turn, you mix it in with this recipe, which is 2 cups of cabbage or kale, lightly packed, 2 cups of water. Doesn't matter what kind of water. If it's tap water, you leave it out for 24 hours. And then 1 tablespoon of salt. So that salt is an energizing force. They use salt in alternative energy sources. And so the salt is a crystal, and crystals energize things around them. It's a positive element. It is part of, I guess what you'd say the cabbage, water, and salt is also part of the elemental composition of the human body, because the first 9 elements the body needs is electrolytes. And so the salt and the water and the minerals, and then coupled with the cabbage and the kale being then pre-digested or fermented, lacto-fermented, then also, it breaks it down to a pre-digested state, but the byproduct also is lactobacillus. So then you have candida. which is basically yeast that's overfed, because you need yeast in your body. It's part of the body's processes. But when it gets overfed with with sugar and sugar substitutes, it turns into candida or cancer. And so lactobacillus is candida or cancer's mortal enemy. Okay? So you're getting all positive elements, which then also speaks to and addresses the hormonal imbalance, which is another aspect of what kills people, is too many hormones being induced. Okay, hormones are only there to keep somebody alive long enough for them to procreate or to protect the body from imminent danger. Right now, our society, we are inducing hormones on a major rapid level all the time that eventually, why they're being induced is because we're exposed to all these different toxins. Okay, and these toxins, like antibiotics, they create antibodies or natural killer cells or T cells or lymphocytes. And then in turn, when you have an overabundance of them, it turns into autoimmunity, which then ages the body and destroys it, and then also induces a hormone, because that is the trigger for then reproduction. It's a trigger for protection to then carry the species forward, because that's what reproduction is to keep the species going forward. And some, when you're mutated, you're very fertile. Not everybody can have babies because there's other things going on in biotech that may attack the woman's reproductive system.
Let me interrupt really quickly.
Yeah.
I can hear someone has to mute. There's a lot of background noise. I know we have quite a few callers on. So if you're on and you're not muted, please mute, because I can hear you getting under your blanket or using your nebulizer, maybe with the Jilly juice, but I can hear you. So can you mute, please? If you're on the call, we want to be able to hear Jillian clear and let everyone listen to the show. So please mute if you're on the show. Thank you.
Okay. So hormones get induced, and that what creates then the different procreation, and then all the different mutations that go along with that. So what Jilly Juice does is it addresses the hormones. Okay, it addresses it, and then and what it does, it keeps it at bay. So, and then also too, the natural killer cells, the T cells, the antibodies, those are also being addressed. They are not exactly being eradicated, because once you introduce a pathogen, whatever it is, and it's marked in some way, it's the body's way of knowing that the body doesn't need to go into inflammation. It doesn't mean it. You already get mutated from the introduction. What was that?
No, we're listening. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
Sandy or Bob, can you mute everyone besides Sandy, Jillian, Mary, and myself, because someone is breathing into the phone. A caller's breathing into the phone. Okay, it sounds clear now. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. That's okay. No, it's fine. Yeah. So anyway, so the natural killer cells that are, it's like when you say you get a vaccine or you get exposed to someone that had a vaccine because they're shedding. The reason why antibodies get created is the body's natural way to protect itself from pathogens. And what it does is the innate immune system, you have two different immune systems, the innate and the adaptive. The innate immune system will go after and destroy those pathogens. So it creates these natural killer cells that remember. And so anytime that is introduced and there is a pathogen still in the body, it keeps creating natural killer cells. But what happens is when that mutation from that pathogen keeps festering and it doesn't get reversed or doesn't get regenerated or taken care of or fixed, it keeps inducing natural killer cells, which then destroys the body. So the juice will then repair the mutations from that initial exposure. You'll still have maybe one or two antibodies, but it's not going to be an overaccumulation. It's going to be a balanced enough antibodies to know that, okay, it's the body's remembering those pathogens, but you're not going to be suffering the mutation from that initial exposure. So they're kept at bay. And so that's, how the Jilly Juice, because you're taking in strategic nutrition. So the Candida, which is cancer, is being reversed, and then it's being held at bay. The natural killer cells are being addressed, and they're fixing the mutations. And then the hormones are also not going to be triggered because of the amount of natural killer cells as well as Candida. So why Jilly Juice? Because there's no reason to take anything other than strategic nutrition to deal with those three issues. Because every single therapy, no matter what it is, if it says therapy right after whatever that protocol is, then they're using hormones to deal with Candida or natural killer cells. So when someone takes cannabis, which is basically endocannabinoids, playing with your endocrine system, it's taking hormones and disappearing the natural killer cells, because that's what tumors and cancer, the different, the numbers is the antibodies are being created. No different than being blood type A and B, surface marker antigen creates antibodies. So what they do is they take endocannabinoids or cannabis to then disappear the numbers, but now you're playing with your hormones and you're having a rise in your hormone levels, and then also too you find that an imbalance happens. And that's why you see people who play with cannabis are aging rapidly. You see, when the end result is accepted that everybody dies, it doesn't even matter what you do, whatever therapy you do, whether it's plant-based therapy, psychotherapy, immunotherapy, physical therapy, all of those things play into the relief, the oxytocin, which is the love hormone. It's the pleasure hormones, what we chase after to, the different pleasure centers in life. And so that's being used as a therapy. So when you think about all the different therapies, like talk therapy and different therapies, it's because they're playing with hormones to then have an anesthetizing effect. It doesn't get to the root cause, but it gives you temporary relief. And then comes my next thing about the pain with the Jilly Juice protocol. So now you have the recipe, you understand, relatively sort of what the recipe is about, but now there is the pain, the symptoms. Pain is healing. What do people do when they're in pain? They go try to anesthetize themselves. They go and chase different hormones, whether adrenaline or oxytocin, to then give them some kind of relief, which is great. But then what happens is that then you have an imbalance, and it still contributes to the degradation of the body. If we actually face the pain and we induce the pain by using the right context, which is strategic nutrition, we will eventually not have pain in that area, whatever that affliction is, anymore, because you're now finally not only healed and sealed, but you repaired the damage, that mutation. But you have to go through certain levels of pain. And that's where the past issues, present issues, and future triggers get addressed with the symptoms, the healing symptoms with the Jilly Juice protocol. So what are past issues? Anything that you've ever had happen to you, whether it's PTSD, trauma to the body, trauma to the mind, body, and the spirit, which is hormones. When you have those type of traumas, it creates natural killer cells, and hormones get involved in those. And so when you are taking in strategic nutrition, you're bringing those to surface, and then the body will deal with it, and you will see a manifestation of certain symptoms that may remind you of what you dealt with in the past. And also, too, in the present, you'll see an exacerbation of your issues presently, because now you're bringing to surface the things that you're trying to suppress with hormones and other drugs. Drugs equals hormones. And then future triggers. When you go get a titer test, okay, and you test positive for like 150 things, or whatever it is that you're being subjected to prove if you want to go to school in the public school system, and you test positive for the MMR and diphtheria and something else, those are backdoor triggers. And those potentially are, I would say, associated with autoimmunity that happens in the middle of someone's career. It's just like out of the blue, someone comes down with an autoimmune disorder. Well, no, it's those things, those antibodies that are circulating in the system. And then they trigger when all the conditions are right. Because I found out that, of course, the body doesn't just materialize disease. There's no suicide contracts in the body. And disease doesn't just lay in the dirt. So those future triggers are based upon all the antibodies and the different pathogens that have been exposed, whether it's been manufactured or you happen to be in an environment where there's a lot more negative elements, such as, I would say, coal dust. Coal dust will turn into certain kind of cancers because it mutates the cells, and the body's trying to fight it off to create natural killer cells. So then you're in inflammation, and then you're infectious, you're contagious. So then tuberculosis gets passed around because the body had to create a way to get rid of it and encapsulate it and separate it, and it's trying to release it. And then if someone's in the immediate area never been exposed to it, then they're going to have an exposure which creates natural killer cells or antibodies, which then causes a mutation. So those are the future triggers. So the healing symptoms are another aspect of the protocol that people must be aware of. But yeah, you're going to feel relative pain. Past issues, present issues, future triggers. And it's all different based upon people's mutations and conglomeration of mutations. So, and then the diet. The diet, I have a specific diet that is, what is it? There's chicken, eggs, fruits, vegetables, raw seeds, raw nuts, and good oils. The reason why I have chicken on the diet is because we have carnivores that really can't make that transition off the meat. So the chicken is a nice transition point. It's not, I mean, yeah, not everybody likes to eat chicken or wants to because of their politics, but it's an easier meat to digest, and it still satisfies some of the carnivores if they're trying to stick with the diet. And the fruits, no cooked fruit, because yeah, fruit has sugar. And people are like, well, you're trying to deal with candida. But yeah, that's how I came into this, was dealing with the candida. But then there's other aspects of what people die from. But the reason why fruit's on the diet is because you do need, some sugar, because when you go get saline bags because you're dehydrated, there is dextrose in those saline bags to stabilize someone that's dehydrated in the hospital. And your body needs sugar. It's part of it's part of your pancreas. It has to produce sugar. But when someone has an imbalance and then they have to go take insulin, with that depletes the sugar. So you're taking too much insulin of some sort. Then now you're low in the sugar. Then you got to go eat a piece of candy or something, and that's how diabetics try to maintain. It's not optimal, but that's how they're able to maintain. But they're still on a death trajectory. So it's just whole fruits, and you don't need to juice your fruits either. Okay, just regular whole fruit. It doesn't have to be organic. It can be GMO. It doesn't matter. And then the vegetables, I say no legumes because peanut butter and a bunch of beans has a lot of sugar to a lot of starch, and we're trying to, be relatively like gluten-free or gluten-free for the most part, because we don't want to have an overabundance of sugars being created, because sugar does feed into candida. So having, a very scant like fruits and vegetables, raw seeds, if you cook the seeds, it turns into sugar, turns into a carbohydrate. So raw seeds, raw nuts, don't cook your nuts. And the good oils, olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil, if you need to cook your food. And then no spices, no lemons and limes, because lemons and limes are used as a detox. They are antibiotic. They create antibodies. Then it induces a hormone. No pills, powders, and supplements and detoxes, because those all are antibiotic. They induce hormones. So anything that, like turpentine, oh my gosh, I can name probably a billion things out there, all the different shakes. So the diet, not everybody can stay with the diet because there is a period of transition. When you have addictions, regardless of what they are, whether it's cannabis or even sugar or even like coffee, or prescription drugs, whatever major addictions you have, that's okay. It's not on the protocol, but at least you're seeing that, okay, these are the things that are not on the protocol. Coffee is not on the protocol. But if you're addicted, then you do what you got to do. Because eventually your biochemistry is going to tell you it doesn't want coffee. It doesn't have the cravings for the sugar. So your biochemistry really runs you. When it comes to body, mind, and spirit, you get your body right, which is the right nutrients. It gets your mind right. The spirit is your hormones. You get those well balanced. And then you won't be craving all of the bad foods. You can have them once in a while, but in the beginning, the first year or so, you're going to have to kind of intellectualize what is good for you, and then know that, yes, if you're on prescription drugs, take them. If you are really highly addicted to alcohol, keep doing your alcohol and do jelly juice. It's going to be a fight, but you got to have that transition point. Never, ever get off of any addiction cold turkey when it comes to really strong stuff like alcohol, prescription drugs. if you need to have your sugar for whatever reason, there's plenty of fruit that you can take. You don't need to turn to donuts. So there's good sugars and there's bad sugars type of thing. So always go for the natural. And the thing with the whole GMO versus organic, GMO, genetically modified, is no different than having your organic food out there in the elements next to industry. Okay? Your body, when it's healed and sealed, or when it's in the process of healing and sealing, it will filter out the excess elements that the body doesn't need, because you can't control dosages of nutrients. You can't control all of the negative elements that you're exposed to, but you take in the positive elements like cabbage, water, and salt, electrolytes, nutrients. Then the laws of your immune system will kick in. You don't have to dose yourself with the different vitamins that they have, like vitamin A, B, C, D, E, and F, G. All of those are actually hormone replacement therapy. Vitamin D is hormone replacement therapy. Okay, you want to stay away from all of the compartmentalization of vitamins and just eat whole foods in a strategic way. Okay, and then there is like the waterfalls, which I think people heard of, which people think like, oh, it's diarrhea. No, I mean, it has nuances of it because the mechanisms may seem like they're similar, but the context is different, because what you're doing is you're drinking the juice, in a large amount in a short amount of time. You're trying to push out all the poop, heal and seal your digestive system so you can absorb and release what you need to. And a lot of people have years and years of impacted poop, parasites, fungus, mucus placoid. Because anytime you eat a food that the body, it's a poison, it harbors mucus. So when you finally do the jelly juice and you get the waterfalls, because you're drinking a large amount in a short amount of time, when you get thirsty, because yes, 1 tablespoon of salt, yeah, it's rather salty, but you'll drink water because you're thirsty, no different than taking popcorn in the movie theater and then eating, drinking water or soda. And soda isn't on the protocol. So you'll drink water, and then you go and it's like a whoosh, it's like a relief. It's a feeling of refreshing. And yes, you'll see some people have seen stuff in their poop. They've seen parasites, things that are alive, worms. If you throw up, it's because you probably have some worms or hanging on the upper digestive tract. So yeah, I mean, that's all part of it. And you'll see things come to surface. We have skin issues that were suppressed. I mean, when I went through a healing symptom in one of my groin area, I had a rash when I was a kid. It's on my lymph node area. And my parents put steroid cream on it when I was like 7 or 8 years old. And then this last couple months, the last like 4 or 5 months, that came to surface, and it was weeping. It was just clear liquid that was just coming out. I'm like, what the heck? And I realized, oh my God, I had a rash there a long time ago. They used steroids to suppress it and then push it back in the body. And now finally that lymph node is releasing. It's finally clear. It's not clogged and constipated anymore. And so you will see things from way in the past. I had Norplant in my arm, and the scar tissue started healing. It was itching. I had ankle weakness from when I sprained my ankle, and that came to surface, the healing. The hands, I had, carpal tunnel scare where I had to wear a hand brace. I had pain in there this last year. I mean, I've had headaches because of, the brain and the eyes are repairing itself. I've had constipation because I wasn't drinking enough of my juice. So it was pissing off the parasites and the candida, and they were trying to hold hostage the poop. I had hemorrhoids because I've had come to surface. Major yeast infections, which is another thing that I had to deal with when I was like 19 and 20. So I've been going through a major healing process, and it's still going on. I mean, I just recently had a hot flash. I'm not triggering menopause, but that's the future trigger that I've been dealing with. So it's almost like you're going through like time in your body. And then when you listen to music and it's past music, you're going back through time. And it also brings up hormones. Like everything that we do in our life does bring up a hormone. And it does manipulate and morph a person and control them in a certain way. So once we realize that a lot of the the TV shows and the radio and the music and even books and the internet all create hormones. And you just got to figure out, okay, if once you're healed and sealed, you can partake in the things that induce hormones without it throwing you off balance, putting you on a death trajectory. So at some point you will be where I'm at now, where I'm pretty much on my way, but lately I've been dealing with some healing. So, but you will then recognize what it is that you gravitate towards, and then you'll be able to analyze why, and then just go with it. Don't kick yourself because you happen to get off the diet because of your cravings, because your biochemistry. If you're taking in Gilla Juice, regardless of what you do, if you're taking in Gilla Juice predominantly, you're getting the waterfalls, at least scheduling them out. If you can't do it every single day, which is okay, you just schedule it. Do it on the weekend. If you have a really high-powered job and you have to be on your game for the most part during the week, and you have weekends off, then do it. Do the waterfalls on the weekends. Just make sure that you somewhat stay close to the diet, and then you poop every single day, because you don't want to have that poop accumulate over the week because you take a little bit of Gilla Juice here and there. Because when you only take a little bit of Gilla Juice here and there, and you haven't really done waterfalls, you're going to feel major pressure because that poop is now like gathering. And you have to then drink water and drink more juice to just get it out. And you feel so much better. So.
Jillian, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, great. I had a few questions.
Yep.
You mentioned something about dehydration. So I have read your book,
Yep.
The Candida Weaponized Fungus Mainstreaming Mutancy. That is a book that Jillian has. And also you coach people through the Gilla Juice process, right?
Well, I don't do any personal consult. Here's the thing. I have two books. One was the first one that was released too early by some interesting people, and so that was retired. Then I have a second one that's through my website that is through a publisher, and it's called the Gilla Juice Protocol. Mm-hmm. But yes, the franchise name is Exposing the Lies, Weaponized Fungus Mainstreaming Mutancy. But I have a website that if people have questions about whatever, they can get them answered.
Okay.
Personal consultations I don't do because I don't want to be anybody's doctor, because that's what got us into this situation to begin with, is that people have decided not to know their body and to go to someone to tell them instead of getting the information and making their own decision. So what I try to do is just kind of guide them to understanding this on their own, and then if there's any holes that they need, be filled in, I'll help them do that. But I can't make decisions for them. If they have a question of whether or not they should get an operation or a root canal, I'm not going to say no or yes. I'm going to say, hey, you look at the information, what I have, you make the best choice for you based upon this. No matter what you do in the system, it can be taken care of and reversed. Is the stuff in the system necessary? Well, you tell me. I don't want to be held responsible for anyone's decision. I want them to make those decisions. So in the beginning, because I wanted people to know about this, I was doing it. And I also had a book that I was trying to get published that then was released inadvertently too early, not through any fault of my own. But so that's why I was charging for that or for any consultations way in the beginning. But now the book is your ticket into my website, the one that I have on lulu.com, the Gilla Juice Protocol.
Okay. That is good to know.
Yeah, because the first book really, the first book really it shows my initial research about where I was coming from, the perspective of Candida, because that's where I came from, was the holistic world. That was their perspective, was Candida. But they weren't focusing on antibodies. They weren't focusing on hormonal imbalances. I mean, they were on a superficial level, but not to the extent that I'm focusing on it now, because that's over the last few years, the layers that I've been peeling back as far as all the programming. So the holistic world is all about Candida and maybe kind of getting your hormones in balance, sort of, but they're using other hormones to do that. So they do talk about it, but their methods, their protocols all have to do with inducing hormones, not getting them to where none of them are being used. And then they kind of bring in a little, nutrition here and there, like, oh yeah, go vegan, go vegetarian, it's the best thing, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, when you can look at the vegans and vegetarians in our society, they're aging rapidly. I mean, if vegan and vegetarian was the end all be all, then they would never die. So there's something else that's going on, okay, and that is the fact that they're not absorbing the nutrition to heal and seal, to where then they're living indefinitely.
Yeah, there's many attacks on, our hormonal system through, just like you said, through music, through food, through Wi-Fi,
Yeah.
through the fact that our guts aren't able to actually absorb any nutrition of what we're getting from, overly fed GMOs, from just not eating raw fruits and vegetables, and from maybe not even, ever detoxing or clearing your system. So one of the questions I have about your protocol is a lot of medical professionals, especially like nurses, let's say, are highly worried about the dehydration process that comes with your protocol. Could you touch on the dehydration process?
There's no dehydration in this. Actually, it it hydrates you because you're going to drink water. What do you do when you eat popcorn? It's salty. What do you do when you eat David sunflower seeds, or when you eat anything salty? What do? You drink water. That's natural chemistry. That's basic chemistry. Do you have anybody tell you when to drink water, or what do you do when you're thirsty? What do you do? Oh, you drink water, right?
Right.
Does somebody tell you to drink water?
No.
Okay, so then what's the problem here? That's the thing, is that they think that people are being told to drink water every minute of the day. If that was the case, then salt would be a controlled substance, right? Salt is not a controlled substance because it's not something that's dangerous. Cannabis is a controlled substance, but all these nurses are promoting cannabis, and that actually destroys the body even more because it's inducing hormones. But salt has never, ever been deemed as a controlled substance because they know the body needs it. So the dehydration factor is, and I can't tell you where it comes from. Maybe they're just not understanding chemistry and they're not understanding jelly juice because they haven't looked at the recipe. 2 cups of water, 2 cups of cabbage lightly packed, 1 tablespoon of salt. And then, hey, when you're thirsty, when you take anything salty, what do? You drink water. They don't have David sunflower seeds controlled because it's too salty. When there's soda, like sodas have a lot of sodium. TV dinners have a lot of sodium. But, yeah, I mean, anyone that goes and puts a bunch of salt on their food, they don't say, hey, you have to, this is much salt, And look at the recommended daily allowances are based upon a system that is dying. Look how many people with cancer disease and chronic illness. And because they have a low salt intake and, of course, not drinking enough water, and they're not getting enough nutrients. And the whole thing with the blood pressure is salt by itself is an energizing force, no different than a crystal. Crystals are energizing forces. But when you energize a mutated body, you'll energize whatever malfunctions you have. So if you have a malfunction or a mutation in your neurological system or your nervous system or your cardiovascular system, it's going to manifest into some kind of symptom. So I've been taking my juice. I've never had high blood pressure ever. I've always had low blood pressure, always actually really, really low. So and I was always taking in Starbucks. I was eating TV dinners. I was eating popcorn at the movie theater. I mean, I was in the matrix eating whatever with high sodium amounts, okay? Never, ever did I ever experience any high blood pressure from my salt intake. And then I go on jelly juice. Never, ever did I experience any high blood pressure. I don't even know what the hell that is. I've never experienced it, so I can never tell you even what it feels like. Because I've never tested myself, but I have been tested in the system for high or low blood pressure, and it's always been low. So, so whenever someone takes salt with not the right pairing, it's going to energize whatever state your system is in. And most, if not everybody, is mutated. And a lot of people have blood pressure issues anyways. So salt would only energize what you already have. Now, once you heal and seal and you take in salt, guess what? You won't have any high blood pressure because you fixed the mutation.
Yeah, I think a lot.
Go ahead.
I think a lot of medical professionals look at it with the water falling. So if you're taking your protocol, which then can, I mean, I don't know what you can teach people about, like maybe their potassium levels, which can then affect their heart if they're.
No. You already want to go there. That's the allopathic, holistic, compartmentalizing. Have you focus on one thing, look left, when you should be looking right, left, and center. When you start compartmentalizing about potassium levels and this level and that level, and you're getting tests in the system like vitamin D, And then guess what? It paves the way for, oh, then you need to take this prescription drug. You need to take this detox, this supplement, this vitamin. And then a person is like only going to look at how they feel. So when you induce a hormone, they think that that's healing. Oh, yeah, I feel great. I just, they gave me vitamin D or vitamin A. Well, it created a hormone. And that hormone made me feel better. And so they think that because they feel better, they were actually anesthetized and they had a hormone being induced. They think that that was medicine when that was just manipulating their hormones to make them feel a certain way. So no, here's the thing. When you get waterfalls, it's because you're absorbing, because you have salt channels in your cells. In my next book that I'm writing with Kevin Van Rompuy, he's one of my moderators, he is going to be going into great detail about sodium channels in the cells and that everything is electric. And electrolytes are a major component that's necessary for the optimal balance of the body. And people who are low in sodium, low in electrolytes, guess what? They're sick and dying, contracting cancer, disease, and chronic illness. All the low sodium people are dying in this system. Everyone that listens to the RDA and all those different recommendations from the CDC and the FDA, guess what? They're aging and they're dying. And now you can say, oh, correlation doesn't mean causation. But when you're listening to a government that has the outcome of all these different medical, professional, and protocols, it makes you wonder, there has to be some correlation and causation, especially when I've basically substantiated that nutrition regenerates cells. So, if you're not getting the proper amount of sodium in your diet to energize the nutrients, no wonder people aren't regenerating and they're dying in the system. You've got to energize your body with the right elements, and that's what the elemental composition of the human body. Any college knows the elemental composition. The first 9 elements is electrolytes. It has potassium in there. Okay? The last 20 or so are trace minerals. Those are negative elements. But you need a certain amount of them. And then the laws of the human body will be able to absorb what it needs relative to the elemental composition. And then it will be releasing, which is the waterfalls. No different than when you pee. You don't want to drink your pee. People are doing drinking the pee. Well, your body's releasing those excess nutrients and excess elements for a reason. It doesn't need it. And then people are drinking it. That doesn't make sense. People are getting fecal transplants in the system. That doesn't make sense either. So, all these things. Go ahead.
What really makes sense is your protocol and encouraging people to intuitively moderate their symptoms with your juice protocol, which you can make up to a gallon of it. And the idea is to slowly drink your juice. So a cup or 2 a day, up to a gallon a day is the optimal idea. And then,
and even a gallon a day, that's hard for a lot of people. If you have the time to do it, somebody who has cancer or is in hospice, they would probably do very well with a gallon a day. Someone like you could get away with, half a gallon a day, or even less than that, and then do a gallon or 2 gallons on the weekend.
And for how long do you suggest?
For how long? Well, see, you need nutrition no matter what. So it all depends on what you bring to the table. If you're bringing to the table a massive amount of mutations, then it depends on, too, how often you're going to do this, and your lifestyle, and your environment. Somebody that's in the Swiss Alps that's not around a lot of industry could get away with not doing a gallon a day. They can get away with doing 8 or 9 cups a day, if that, because they don't have a lot more to work with. Maybe they don't have as many mutations either. So it all depends on what you bring to the table. So you're going to be monitoring what you dealt with in the past. You'll write down a list of everything that you remember that was some kind of trauma to you. Okay? And then you'll list out currently what you're dealing with today, which brought you into this to begin with. And then anything that new comes up during the protocol as healing, that's a future trigger. Those are the backdoor triggers that are floating around in your body. And then also, too, go get a blood test to see what your blood type is. If you're AB positive today and then you go back after a year and you're doing the Julie Juice protocol, maybe do a gallon a day or maybe not. It just depends on your schedule and what you can do. You'll see your blood type change because you're getting rid of the antigen, the surface marker antigen that is inducing antibodies. And that's like playing pinball, in your body, because every single time you have an antibody or an antigen, it creates an antibody. It attacks different parts of your body, and you have the accumulation of natural killer cells. So everybody is different relative to what they can do and what they bring to the table and their understanding of the protocol. If you're scared all the time or you have a major addiction like alcohol or cannabis, then it may take you longer than someone that was like me who only had PMDD. I wasn't addicted to alcohol, wasn't addicted to cannabis, was on a bunch of supplements thinking that those were helping me because I was on like 14, 15 different supplements and finally got rid of those. And then I just started dealing with all of the issues in my body. And I didn't have to work, really. I was writing a book. I was then dealing with all the controversy around this protocol. But yeah. I didn't have other distractions like having kids or, anything else. So it just depends on your specific circumstance, how long. But here's the thing, you're never, ever going to not need nutrition. You will always need nutrition. Now, what I do today, let's pretend that I'm 100% healed and sealed. I could go on vacation for like a couple weeks or a month and eat relatively clean and not drink Julie Juice at all. But, when you are in an environment that has a lot of different pathogens and you're exposed to people with a lot of different bacteria and pathogens, they are attacking you. So you're always going to have to repair the damage from even exposure to walking around outside, exposed to whatever fluctuating elements, wherever it is. You won't know if there's more radiation in one area. When you go by a bunch of cell towers, they emit more radiation than other areas. But you can't keep track. So you know that you just every day, if you can, always have juice around. If you start feeling that you're eating like out all the time, because you're not eating on the protocol, but you're eating out, and you start feeling like the heavy feeling like you're stuffed or you feel something going on down there, and you need to poop but you can't for whatever reason because you ate a certain food that's stuck, then you go do some waterfalls, release it. Don't harbor it in your body, because this juice and this lifestyle will have you be like a princess in the pea. You will notice every single time you eat, and then when it comes out the next day. You don't want to harbor that piece of steak. I don't even eat steak because that's so hard to digest. Chicken is probably the thing that I would eat if I'm going to eat any kind of meat. So, you'll notice what you're harboring in your digestive system, and you'll want to release it. And it feels good to drink nutrients.
Yeah, so basically there's a bigger picture with the protocol in general, and you're teaching people a lot in your books and how to actually take care of yourself, throughout your whole life and help your body regenerate cells because it's able to absorb nutrition from whatever you eat. And while you're doing the juice, as you continue to do it, you'll be more in tune with your body because you're paying attention. Yes.
And you're analyzing everything around you, why you like certain things. People go through life, they don't even know why they like certain things or why they do what they do, why they do the things they do. Now you're going to actually know that, okay, why I act this way is because I have a huge hormonal imbalance and I'm full of adrenaline, or why I'm so sexual because I'm full of oxytocin, or why I'm always so fearful or depressed, or lack of serotonin. So it has people really understand on a daily, minutely basis what is actually going on, and then realize that they need nutrition. They are majorly malnourished.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Is there anything that you'd like to comment? So parents with children, if they're, so as the parent, like myself, as I continue with your protocol and continue to experience and recognize myself, most likely at some point I will be self-sufficient enough in this aspect of healing and of great nutrition that I could monitor my children, that it's not such a bad thing to give to children, or anything that you'd like to comment on that.
Okay, yeah. I mean, first of all, if you have children, do the protocol yourself. Understand every single aspect of it, because that means that your child is going to potentially experience that because you've passed on the quote-unquote immunity or antibodies that cause mutations. So your child may be experiencing some of that at some point during this process. So first in the protocol, understand exactly what it is, and then, you know, since I don't have kids, it's hard for me to speak on it, but I've heard people say, you know, that they've soaked their kids' feet in it. They've given them, like, you know, those medicine type droppers for like amoxicillin. They put the juice in there and give it to them, and then give them some water along with that. I mean, it's not exactly, you know, it doesn't taste, you got to be creative in how you get it into your child who's like, oh, this smells nasty. You know, you could mix it in with fruit juice. You could make it into a popsicle with fruit juice and bananas or something. I mean, I don't know, popsicle, but yeah, I mean, it still has nutrients. The lactobacillus I'm not too worried about, because you can soak the kid in the juice, put it in their belly button. Just whatever, you know, anytime that you give your kid medicine, right, what do you do to get them to get the medicine? Whatever creative parenting that you do without abusing your child is wonderful.
Yeah.
You know? So it's just a matter of what your relationship with your child is. Some people don't have a very good relationship with their child. And the kid runs the house. There's no way they're going to get the juice because the kid is like, hell no. And the mother hasn't figured out a creative way to get the kid to even just listen to them on other stuff. So it's going to be even harder to try to get them healthy with this juice when it's not friendly. So that you have to be creative and maybe change the way you parent. But first, a mother or a father must do the juice so they understand what to expect. And then they go to my discussion forum, because I have a bunch of mothers in my discussion where you get the book, send, you know, jillyjuice.com, JILLYJUICE.com, and send us a receipt. And then if you have a scenario, we have a lot of mothers in there that are anonymous that will help you, you know, figure out different ways and what dosages they give their kid. But ultimately, it's, you know, what are you willing to do, and can you do it relative to your relationship? So
can you talk on, so you can use your juice as an enema, is that correct? And or
yeah, you can.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing with enemas. With enemas, it's like you're not really, there's no like when you're drinking the juice, either you throw up or you stop, right? Because it's too much. Mm-hmm. With an enema, there is nothing like that. You take it in, and oh my God, all of a sudden you get hit by a truck. That's what it would feel like, because you're taking in more than you're ready to deal with. So enemas are okay, I guess, if it's diluted, but you can do that if you need to, if you don't want to do waterfalls. But really, You should be doing it through your mouth, because first of all, you have to understand how much can you take of the healing process. Not everybody can take massive amounts of pain. When you do an enema, there is no like, I won't say like a stop factor or you're going overboard factor. Not saying that's dangerous, but can you handle that much pain? I have people that do the enema, they held it into their butt for a while, and they were just laid out. Like they couldn't move because their body was like in such an uproar. So when you drink it, it gives you where you can you do a little bit of time. You do a shot, or you do a glass, or you do like, you know, 4 cups or whatever. You do an enema, it's I don't know, man. It depends. I mean, if you're hardcore, then do it. But will you be able to handle the outcome? But no matter what, you know, whether drink it through your mouth, you'll have healing symptoms. But just know that, you know, you really want to do it through your mouth. You could do an enema, but you can douche with it. Douching with it is good for yeast infections. And then, you know, bladder infection and all of that. You can put it in your belly button for bladder infections and spray all around in there. So you can use it for ear stuff, eye stuff, you know, hair rinse, topical. I mean, everything.
So
and
I don't know if maybe I have been making it too thick, because I experimented with the douching process, you know, because I wanted to. And it's so, I think maybe mine is too thick. Is that maybe what's happening? Or can you juice your juice afterwards? You know, so I ferment it, I let it sit there, and then, you know, there'll be pieces of almost what it looks like garlic. I want to say, I guess, from the from the kale or the cabbage and then the fermented process. And I find that maybe it's too thick to drink, so am I just, like, packing too much kale in there?
Yeah, what you do is, I mean, I have it 50-50, so at least you get used to that. But if you pack it too much, it might be really, really, really thick. So you can lightly pack it. You need to get enough in there to get the nutrients. But you can also strain it. You can always strain it. But what I do is if you see you're packing it too much, just lightly pack it. You could probably have one cabbage head for like 4 gallons. You could potentially do that. And you can do one cabbage head for 4 gallons, and you can add in some kale, some extra nutrition, so you can mix the two. And then you strain it so it's just juicy. So it's, all it is just juice. Or you can just do one cabbage.
Rest of it? Sorry, can you juice the rest of it? So if I strain it and just drink it like that, can I juice the rest of the particles? Is that acceptable?
What do you mean juice? What does that mean by juice? What do you mean by juice?
Like get a juicer and put it through like the juicing machine.
No,
so
don't
that
do that.
Juice. Okay.
No. Just get like a Vitamix or something that can puree it because it'll get it down. Because right now you might have what blender are you using?
Yeah, it was just I actually haven't done it. I was just drinking it like whole, and it became too much. So that's why I was asking. Like it was like too thick. I couldn't drink it down, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to make it lighter or something. And then I was curious.
What do you mean by whole? What do you mean by whole? What do you mean by whole?
Like I wasn't straining it. I was just drinking it, and it was, I was drinking.
No, I understand that. But what I'm saying is some blenders don't chop it as fine as others. So you have to find like a Vitamix that has a high powered where it basically is pureed, so that way you can, if it's juicy, you can still drink it because the solids are not so thick. Some blenders, like my old blender, was chopping it, but it wasn't chopping it so fine, so it was hard to drink, even with its whole pieces. Okay.
I have like a Ninja blender, and it doesn't really chop anything very fine at all.
You need a Vitamix. You need a high powered. Or I have a NutriBullet that I use, but I have a Vitamix someone bought me that I'm going to be using pretty soon. But my NutriBullet is amazing. I mean, but here's the thing, you can go lightly on the cabbage or kale, and when you do the 24-hour ferment, you'll take like a cup of your old ferment, and then you add in just a few pieces of cabbage and kale. I mean, you'll experiment. And then, you'll get to a point where, you'll just put in a bit here, a bit there, and then the rest will be just water and salt. And then you ferment it, and so then you see there's a lot more juice, and then I take the solids and I either give it to my dog or I put it in water and make electrolyte water.
Nice.
Because those solids are good. I mean, you can make, your own water and have that, and it's refreshing. And it has, you can still eat the solids too because it's not like they're so thick. So you can do a lot with the solids and then still get the bang from the juice.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad I asked. I think we have a lot of callers here. Is there anyone that would like to ask a question?
Hi, this is Henry. Julian, I just heard you mention that it can change your blood type. I haven't actually heard anyone say that before, and I was wondering if you had any idea or opinion about what the optimal blood type would be once people have drank the juice for long enough.
Yeah, it'd be O negative, because O negative means that you are negative any surface marker antigen. See, AB positive means that you have A antigen, A surface marker antigen, and B surface marker antigen, and the positive is the Rh factor. That's the rhesus monkey gene that people talk about that makes you positive or negative. So when you're O negative, it means you have no antigen in your blood and you're not testing positive for the rhesus factor. So that means that you don't have all these antigens creating antibodies in your body on a daily basis. So I've had somebody on my protocol that was like A, B positive, and now she's just A. So, she got rid of the B surface marker antigen, because antigen doesn't belong in your body. But for some reason, all these different pathogens are not being released because of the low functioning immune system or a high functioning immune system, but not enough nutrients to rebuild. that is what's causing the different blood types. And now we're getting new blood types because we have new vaccines, new pathogens being introduced, which is then creating a new blood type.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to be O negative.
Cool. Thanks for that. Another question.
Yeah.
Have you had much experience or feedback from people regarding leptin? I know obviously the juice helps with all the hormones, and I've been drinking it for a long time, but yeah, I still get hungry a lot. So I was just wondering if you had anything about
Leptin?
Leptin?
What is that called?
Leptin. Leptin.
Oh,
it's like the hunger hormone.
Oh, don't worry about that. The reason why you're hungry is because your body is, like, you're going through the protocol, right? And you're starving the candida and the parasites. So they're making you hungry to go eat. And so what you need to do is just keep feeding your body nutrition. So those hormones will then be at bay, because that hormone is obviously, if it's a hunger hormone or the fat hormone or any hormone that has something attached to it, it's out of control through an imbalance, okay? So it's hungry because you're not feeding it the right nutrients and it's not absorbing it. That's why you're hungry.
Okay, cool, thanks. And I was also wondering what your current diet is. If you stick to the protocol still now, or what you're eating.
Oh, yeah. See, I'm pretty much healed and sealed. So I will partake, in things that are off the protocol, but for the most part, I stay on the protocol, but I do a little bit of spices here and there. I will eat bread here and there. Lately, I've been going through a healing symptom with, because I'm going through, I would say, the future trigger of menopause, but it's not menopause. My body is healing from that potential trigger, because that's the age that I'm at where I could be doing that at this point, but I'm not. So I've been drinking a lot of coffee because I've been so tired lately. So it's just, whatever you're craving today that's off the protocol, it's because you still have an imbalance. There are hormones that are still raging. You still have parasites. You still have fungus. There are things that are still going on. Your biochemistry is still cattywampus, so to speak. So right now you're going to have to intellectualize, which is just think about what is healthy, even though your body doesn't say, doesn't really want that, because you're craving the cookies, donuts and cakes and all that. But eventually your body and your mind and your spirit are your hormones. They will eventually be aligned. But it's going to be a fight, because you still have a lot of mutations and pathogens that are being harbored in your body. But eventually all of those three things, the body, mind, and spirit, will be 100% aligned. But you'll notice the battle when you do have your biochemistry have different cravings, cause you different cravings that is wrong, like too many donuts. If you're craving waffles all the time, then you have an imbalance. Okay?
Okay, cool. Thanks, Jillian. And just one more question. I don't know if you're familiar with Weston A. Price, but he was a dentist who studied indigenous peoples around the world and their diet. And we're on his website earlier because we keep seeing this whole veganism thing around, and to us it kind of seems a bit funny because all the indigenous peoples ate animal products of some sort, and on their website they were quoting Agenda 21 and saying how veganism's all to do with that. They're getting people scared of climate change and things, so they're promoting veganism. And according to the Weston A. Price Foundation, you need to eat some animal products. So I was just wondering once people have healed their symptoms, I don't really have anything going on. And other people too, once they've drank the juice for a long time, if you still suggest people to just kind of stick to chicken and eggs if they want to eat animal products.
Well,
and your whole thought on the whole veganism thing.
Yeah, here's the thing. You eat what you want. Right now, the protocol is the way it is, so you understand what would put stress on your body during the healing process, and you're not trying to stress your body out while you're healing, okay? But if you have to turn to certain things because you're addicted, okay, do what you got to do, but still keep drinking the juice. Even after you've healed and sealed, regardless of what Weston raised price or all the different fear out there, forget all that fear. Because no matter what, unless they blow up the world, you're going to be fine. When the climate changes for whatever reason, when things change, when the environment changes, your body will adapt if you give it what it needs. I'm actually warmer now this winter time than I was a couple of years ago. My body temperature now is higher during this cold season than it was 2 years ago because I finally got my hormones in check. I finally gave my body the right nutrients. So I'm not suffering because I'm actually now adapting to my environment. So no matter what happens out there, you don't need to turn to vegan or vegetarianism unless you absolutely want to, unless politically it's something that you subscribe to. You don't have to eat animal products unless you want to. I mean, it's going to be whatever preference. I mean, now, yeah, I eat chicken occasionally, but I don't eat beef because it's just too hard to digest. It punishes me later. I'm trying to get rid of it because I'm very aware of the foods that I eat and how long they stay in my system and how I need to get rid of that waste material. And, you know, red meat is very hard to digest and get rid of. So I don't even eat it because I don't want to deal with the outcome. I'm trying to get rid of it. Okay? So just forget all the fear out there about Agenda 21, because once you understand the Jilly Juice protocol and you drink it, it won't matter what happens out there unless, you know, the troops are at your door or they're setting off nuclear bombs all over the place. If they're not doing that, then you have recourse. Okay?
Okay,
Don't worry.
cool. Thanks, Jillian.
You're welcome.
Yes. Hi, this is Sandy. I am president of the NuHome School, and
Hi.
I understand. Hi. I've really enjoyed this program thoroughly, and I would like to ask Dwayne if he would like to come on right now and give a testimonial on the Jilly Juice. Are you there, Dwayne? Maybe he's not there. I thought he was
Dwayne
on.
the Great
just a minute.
Dwayne the
Yeah,
Great
he's here.
Writer.
I'm here. Yeah. What do I do? You can go on my phone. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Somebody hears me. Yes, Dwayne is here, and I'm listening.
Yep.
This
Great.
is excellent. Thank you, Jillian, for taking the time to figure all this out.
You're welcome. Thank you for allowing me to do this with you guys.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. Yes, since Kelsey Brown brought it up, I saw it immediately. I'm very intuitive, and I saw that, this makes sense. Let's do it. Plus, it's very easy. It's 3 days to do the juice, and I make it here for everybody. We started making it together, and, we do it all the time. I drink it every day. It's terrific. Thank you so much for, again, being out there and sharing this.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. You know, I mean, This is where humanity is going now. You know, I mean, gone are the days of subscribing to the death process. Time to turn it around.
Well, yeah, we're all on our adventure and we're risk takers, and I see that you are too. And so with what I'm doing and promoting with the all-natural environment, we see what's going on in the world. So there's many factors here, and it's time to wake up and do something real that makes sense. And I saw you on Dr. Phil too, and I would say a lot of that silly stuff where people were, they weren't agreeing with you was kind of a setup. It's a little bit sad because what I see you promoting is very, very beneficial, and, it's really cool. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, and you're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yes, and Kelsey's a sweetheart. She always has been, and we all do our thing together here for the natural environment. We do many things around the world. We have many blog talk radio shows. I have my books. I give them away mainly free so people have a better opportunity to become more aware and see what's going on in the world. And, yes, your juice has done a lot, and you've taken the time, and you've bravely confronted all these people that even say you're destroying others. So they haven't come to that point with me yet. I'm the scary guy, but you're the brave gal that stood up to all of this. Yeah, that's great.
Well, I guess my whole life set me up for this, and when you're always working outside the system in some way or different, I guess this was just something. And you have convictions too. I mean, I've always been one to to go for the underdog or just stand my ground. So not always in the right times, but I guess this is a good time to do it, to stand your ground. And, so, yes.
Well, I see, like you, I see what's going on in the world, and I can stand here and watch the world burn, but I don't want to. I step up in my own way, and so we're into everything, and that's where we were introduced to you. And, at first there's always a little bit of misunderstanding, but now as we gain a little experience, everything's okay. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
I do want to acknowledge that, and I appreciate the patience that you had, because that time was insane. It was, oh my gosh, it was insane. And then over, I think, the last, 6 or 7 months, you start I was confronting all of my own biasness and all of my hardlineness. And that comes, just from over time, the way I was raised, to then all the things that I've encountered, and then being triggered, and you explore your triggers. And so, when you start opening up yourself for self-discovery, then you start realizing
it was probably all those little things that you were trying to get rid of attacking you and trying to convince you otherwise, right?
Well, right. I mean, and then you don't know what people's intentions are, and you don't know who they are, and then, you have people telling you this and telling you that. I mean, it's like, hey, you're dealing with the Internet. You're dealing with the Internet, and there's so many different groups out there, and with so many different intentions, and so many different, and it's so hard to vet, and it's like, so in a lot of ways, I was going through a lot of different moderators, going through different people that were in my inner circle, until I found the ones that I like to work with and understand, that's willing to work with me and go with this. And I'm not always diplomatic, not at all. I mean, I can be a hard ass, but in a lot of ways, it held me in good stead, because, if I see that I'm wrong, I will eventually own up to it once I see it. But you do what you do with your biochemistry. It's just, everybody has different ways to, they manifest all their different triggers and mutations. So yeah, I mean, I acknowledge my mutations, and I see them for what they are, and you move on, and you correct them.
Well, you're the inventor, and plus you have to be management and oversee things. So that's what I do too, and this is why I've created all these situations with the worldwide educators, the homeschool, the universal university, and on, the new presentation, and written my books, etc. Because again, sure that it's all focused on what we are, and overall it's the all natural environment, because it's consciously and unconsciously being destroyed by people. And so again, we take on the challenge like you do to see who will step up. And I go through the same thing. I don't know who it is, but I'm still willing to confront it and sort it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we all find our niche and have our niche, and then we merge and collaborate, because the platform is still the same. We're trying to improve humanity way more, than where it's going. So, however we do it, there's a million ways to get to the end result, as long as it's working, within the laws of pro-life, right?
Well, it's hard just to get out of bed in the morning, and then from there we decide to do something. So every day we got to do that, and it gets harder and harder. But as we get up, we do something, and especially when others are around. So I work very closely with Kelsey and Henry and Val here and others, and Ava, my sweetie in Germany. And so we're on Skypes every day doing this and promoting this. And again, we're very thankful that you had the courage to step up and talk to us, because a lot of people will hear this, and everything we share is a benefit. That's the whole idea of what we do.
Well, thank you so much, really, seriously. And I'm glad that I finally have the book out, which was one of my major goals, was to get something out so people had something in their hands. So, I'm glad I have that. And then, I will have another book out that will give more in detail. So anyone that still has questions or wants more of an in-depth answer.
Yeah, it makes a difference. And I remember when I got my first book published back in 2001. And from there, and then I've written 9 books, plus I have about 1,800 groups on Facebook that I write groups every day, sometimes 2 or 3. Oh yeah, so I'm constantly writing, and I'm doing Skypes almost every day, and et cetera. So we got thousands of Skypes, Blog Talk Radio, etc. I've done this for a long time, so I'm very prolific with it.
What had you started? What was your impetus? What was your impetus to start all this?
Well, through my whole life, I remember coming into this life and why I was to come here, and I have real guides and real guidance, and so they showed me certain things, and at a certain point, I was to step up and let the world know what's going on. So this is where I created the new presentation, etc., in my books, and so I was shown what to do. Yeah. Got it. Okay. Well, very good. And now you have a lot. Yeah. I see you have a lot of members, and the whole thing with the NU, the new that's interesting. That's interesting. That's a real connection through all the levels of creation into real universes where there are no authorities, cause and effect. That that's the whole of life. That's the real connection to that. So you get beyond all your reincarnation and karma with the new you, and you start to watch your dream visions, and you'll start to have real side experiences, and you'll start to go into other dimensions, and you'll learn a lot more than you ever will on the earth. Okay. Very interesting. Yeah. Okay. Very. It's a lot of fun, and the kids do it all the time. I had a daughter when she was young. That's all I taught her, and she could leave her body. She could go to the other world. She was with the real guides, etc. And so the children. That's why I created the new school. They're so open to that. You know, many people have flown in their dreams when they're young, but they can't when they're older because they're so fossilized and self-convinced. But when they were young and flexible, they could visit other dimensions and whatever. So you become multidimensional and not just locked into this physical dimension to where you just grow old and you forget you were here. Right. No, that makes sense. Because I remember I was flying in my dreams when I was younger. And then lately, within the last 6 months, I've been having really interesting dreams. So, well, sing the new you. Sing the new you, young lady, every night for about 10 or 15 minutes. Ask for real guidance, and you'll be amazed at what you'll experience. Okay. All right. So you have fun. It's your show. Thank you for showing up. Thank you. Go ahead. Thank you. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you, Dwayne. All right. So, Kelsey, are you there?
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Julian. Thank you, Dwayne. And we really appreciate you stepping up to come to our show and share with everybody. And we'll see what happens. If you have some experiences with the new you, we'd like to hear them. I've seen your juice in my dreams, and I've got it sitting on the table to drink it up there. So thanks a lot, and thanks for being cool. And everybody, you can check out Jillian's website, jillyjuice.com, and see what she's up to and what she's presenting for everyone. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me on here. And it's good to know there's other groups out there that are supporting me in this. And that's really what it comes down to, is the support. You know, we do need it. So thank you.
Yeah. Jillian has, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mary. Take it away. It's your show.
We're also grateful that you showed up today, Jillian, and you're really sharing something of a real benefit with everyone here. I didn't know if there's any last touches or anything that you really wanted to put out there or say to the people in the world about what you're doing.
You know, I mean, really, it's giving people the choice and being okay with people's choices, because that's what it comes down to. As long as you have the knowledge or the choice to go and explore something different with a different possibility, then it doesn't matter what people choose. You know, the activism and all that, yes, raising awareness is one thing, but then, you know, making each other wrong for not doing something or doing something is where things get kind of weird. So what I really would like for people to do is to know how to share this protocol and what they're doing in more of a educational than an activist, because activism triggers people into, I don't know, some stuff where they have a block. But if we can learn how to speak to our own listening as well as other people's listening, there's a way in which we can reach people without making them wrong. And I believe me, I struggle with that all the time. But yeah, that's one of the biggest things that I've noticed about myself is how I share and then what feedback I get from that sharing. And there are some people that are going to be like completely, against this no matter what, but you just never know when you do come from a point of education, not a point of trigger, that people will be more, I guess, open to it. Right now, they're not, because they saw my Dr. Phil show when I was triggering everybody and their mother. So I got to deal with that, but I am trying to clean up the way in which I share this information, so I don't purposely trigger people to where they have a mental block. And that's a challenge, but it does come with the healing process. So, but that's something that I want to shoot for, as well as it would be beneficial for everybody out there once they get to that point. So that's my last word on that.
Yeah, thank you again for coming on. Again, it's really not easy to share anything of a real benefit here. Everybody is very much indoctrinated to many lifetimes of experiences that we've went through with this place, that we call planet Earth here, and other places that we've had experiences. And that's what we're doing. We are sharing what makes sense. What you're doing makes sense. We appreciate your book and your protocol and your ability to go out there into the world and give them something that makes sense. And our new homeschool channel, Live Blog Talk Radio Show, is every other Sunday. We're inviting people that make sense to share things that make sense. We're also inviting all children and their parents to come on and share their real side experiences, which are also known as dreams here. You can learn a lot more on the real side. You learn a lot faster. A lot of people like yourself and like Telsa and other people that have brought things of real benefit here unknowingly has been guided by the real beings of real light outside of creation. And we're just here helping people recognize that there's so much more to life than just a literal sense. And you're here helping people in their physical sense, and it goes beyond that as you start to intuitively check out your symptoms with with the protocol that you have. So it's a bigger picture than just what you can get in Western medicine, and it's kind of the same that we're doing. And you can reach out to Kelsey Lynn Brown, Henry Draper, Dwayne the Great Writer, Sandy Staling, Bob Staling, myself, Mary Duffy. You can find any of us on YouTube or Facebook, SoundCloud. And I'm just going to close it up here with a little excerpt from Dwayne himself, and he called it The New Consciousness by Dwayne is the Great Writer. We wonderful worldwide educators. I'm sorry.
No, Mary, I was just going to say, I think Claudia is on and may have a question.
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. Is there more questions? Go ahead.
I thought she was on and wanted a question or had a question.
Claudia's here, right here. Go ahead, Claudia. Do you have a question for Jillian? Or you a comment?
Yes, I do have a question. In the protocol, and you mix raw kale with the fermented sauerkraut or cabbage.
Well, what you do is you would actually ferment both. You would ferment the kale and the cabbage, whether it's separately or together. It has the same recipe. It goes through the same fermentation process, okay, when it's left out for 3 days. So, and then you can use each one as a starter for each. So if you have just a kale batch, you can take a cup of the kale and put it in a jar, add your cabbage ingredients, and that will be like a 24-hour ferment. So you can mix and match and do whatever you want. Some people don't like the taste of just kale. Okay. It's very strong.
but for sure, do the mixing of the fermented. I was just wondering if anybody had experimented with doing the raw kale and the fermented cabbage, if there was any benefit or difference from that.
No, here's the thing. thing. Once you're healed and sealed, then you can eat anything raw without fermenting it, and then you'd be able to absorb the nutrition. But there's no benefit. There's no real reason to do that. Yeah.
I was just curious. I wonder anybody experiment. That was all. But thank you so much for what you've given. I had been off of it for a year, and now I'm going back on. And I thank you.
You're welcome, hon. Nice to talk to you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. It's like meeting a movie star. Thank you very much.
She's a movie star. This is Sandy again, and I just have one question, quick one. If Jillian would like us to send her Dream Visions book by Dwayne Hepner, and then we could do a swap and you send us your book too, if that would be possible?
Well, let's keep it at this point right now. Let's
okay. Sure.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's fine. I'm not promising anything as far as that, but I mean, if you would like to send me a free book, I'd be more open to send you one of mine, and I'm okay with that. That's fine.
Okay, great.
Now, am I going to read it and talk about it again? Maybe. I can't promise anything. If it speaks to me, great. If it doesn't, it's okay. Either way, it doesn't matter, right?
Right, that's fair. For sure. I just want to say, too, I've been using your Jilly Juice, and I have felt better than I have in years. And I come with, I'm from Wisconsin, so we have really nasty weather, and my sinuses act up, etc. But when I drink that juice, I really can tell that there's a huge difference, huge.
Yeah.
So certainly is wonderful.
Yeah, it makes sense. Good.
No, I was just going to say it certainly is wonderful. That's I want to get some of my relatives on it too.
Well, yeah, and and then having the book, is going to work wonders. And then, the next book that I have, is going to be even more for those that are more detail oriented. So either way, but I do have like the science behind the claims that I made about reversing the aging process, regenerating limbs and organs, as well as and reversing all cancer, disease, and chronic illness. There is, the science that I've taken from government publications that's already been substantiated, in biotech, and that's all been annotated, and there's a bibliography and everything. So even the most science-minded can get their questions answered, or at least understand it, the science behind this.
Okay, we are going to ask. Thank you so much. This has been wonderful. We are going to ask and open the lines and see if anybody else would like to ask a question for you.
Yeah, this is Dean Val, and Dean of Nations United University, and I've been on the juice for over a year, and not so much lately have I been using it, but it's basically my go-to healing remedy. If there's anything wrong, or if I'm talking to somebody else, issues in the health area, that's always my go-to. Out of everything that I've ever had experienced, it's a basic protocol remedy for anything that's wrong with you. And I really appreciate you doing all the research, Jillian, and really wonderful that you're here and you've provided this for humanity, basically. Really good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Is there any more questions?
It's wonderful. I'm drinking the juice, and it's wonderful. But I sure would like her to not talk so fast.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. You could purchase the book at lillyjuice.com, and then you can read about it and also join the website and, email back and forth or ask questions through her website that she has available to everyone. So then you could read at your own pace and maybe understand a lot better.
Yes,
Can I
have to do that. Thank you, but it's wonderful. I really can't do without the juice.
Can I just interject?
Thank you.
Lila here, who's speaking right now, she's 97 years old, and she's had lots of issues, health issues, and the juice has really, really done wonders for her. Constipation, energy level, pain, different things. She could tell you herself, but it's she's 97. That's the main thing, and it's been a great lift to her.
That is great. Wow, 97. That's awesome. Oh my God, I can't wait for the next another couple hundred years for her.
Yeah, there is no way I could drink a gallon a day.
Oh no, yeah. You do it at your pace. You do it at your pace, and if you want to increase it, because here's the thing, you want to see healing symptoms. So if you plateau at 2 cups, and you don't have any more healing symptoms, then you up the dosages. So you always up the dosage relative to what healing symptoms are going on. And if you find that you're still aged and you know that you still have issues, but you don't have any more healing symptoms and you're still drinking the juice, you need to increase the dosages. Because the healing symptoms, the pain, is your barometer on what is going on with your body being repaired. Okay? So just know that so you don't plateau and then eventually life overtakes you. You want to keep being aggressive.
Yeah, well, I'm doing the best I can, and
Absolutely.
And it's wonderful. I can't do without it.
Well, you hang in there. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is anybody else there to share or ask anything?
I'd like to ask about these things that I'm becoming aware of in the air, like nanobots and getting into the body, if you know about them, and if the juice is helpful in getting them out.
Yeah, the nanobots or any foreign object in your body will be addressed, okay, because it doesn't belong in your body. No different than if you have a transplant or an implant or parasites or just pieces of metal. So if your immune system is high functioning but your body isn't strong, it means that you're harboring a lot of foreign objects. So whatever you breathe in, whether it's a nanobot or a parasite larva or anything else, you have the nutrients from the juice. The juice is going to give you all of the energy to get rid of what doesn't belong and then repair the damage from that exposure to either nanobots or parasites or negative elements like radiation. Okay, so just know that anything that doesn't belong in the body will be addressed and pushed out. Now, if you have an implant, like let's say you have a transplant, well, I don't see the body. Like the body will not destroy you while it's healing. So if you do have a heart transplant, I don't want to say to anybody, just do the juice without a doctor's care, because that would be really irresponsible. But the whole concept of the body is to still live and utilize what it needs to keep it going. Sugar, my dog Sugar, to keep it going while it's repairing. And then eventually it will purge or move to the side any transplant or implant that's in your body. But the body wants to live. Okay? So nanobots are no different than any transplant or implant that will be dealt with, and then the body will heal from that.
Sounds like it'll be very important to a lot of people here in the new future to be drinking the Jillian juice.
Right. Absolutely. You know, your body needs nutrition, and we're very severely highly malnourished, and it's showing in the population. So, sugar.
I was thinking along the lines of nanobots and mind control and how it can help prevent that.
Yeah, that's all hormones. Mind control is inducing hormones and then creating traumatic experiences. Any traumatic experience creates hormones. So when you do Jilly Juice, you'll be dealing with PTSD. You'll be repairing the damage that the PTSD created, and then you will not have that issue. You won't be triggered by that, or you'll find ways to make sure you don't get triggered. You stay away from the things that will trigger anybody, no matter who it is, regardless of your experience. So you'll be making different choices when you're on the juice.
Do you have anything to say about enzymes?
No, you just do the juice and your body will create what it needs to break the food down. And the lactobacillus is the friendly bacteria that kills excess candida. And you will break the bacteria breaks food down, but so does your body. It has involuntary processes. So you can't control how your food gets broken down, but what you eat and drink does control what happens.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jillian, this is Bob. I have one quick question for you. How does the Jilly Juice have any effect on MRSA?
Yes, MRSA is just another type of mutation that your body has to go and address. Anything that happens with the body will get addressed with nutrition. It doesn't matter what it is. Okay? Mutations are mutations based upon malnutrition and some kind of mutation or dysfunction in the body. Cool. So MRSA, you can name every single disease. As long as it has to do with the human body, nutrition will take care of it.
Okay, because MRSA is a staph infection, and antibiotics don't work very much. We did find a probiotic.
Well, antibiotics creates natural killer cells, and it kills the body. That's what I'm saying with the whole thing with natural killer cells. And antibiotics creates antibodies. It's natural killer cells, and it induces a hormone. It creates an imbalance, and it causes more degradation. You need nutrition for any infection. You need the Jilly Juice. For every single cancer, disease, and chronic illness, regardless of the name. So you can go down a list of every single infection, disease, and cancer. But I'll say nutrition will deal with that. Nutrition will deal with that. Nutrition doesn't discriminate. Nutrition does not discriminate against the human body. If you have a disease with the human body, as well as an animal or a baby or a child, nutrition does not discriminate. It doesn't discriminate against even parts of your body. If your head is a part of your body, it will deal with any head issues. You have 11 different systems. Nutrition will not discriminate against any of those 11 different systems. Okay?
We have another guest that just came on. His name is Keith. Keith, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. You have the floor. And you're here with Jillian.
Hi, Jillian. How are you?
Great, thank you. How are you?
Pretty challenged. I had a mercury exposure poisoning a couple 2-3 years ago, and it morphed into a electromagnetic sensitivity. So cell phones, Wi-Fi, computers just send me over the edge, and I've got some pretty bad tremors, and the only thing that I've found that helps me is grounding, getting my feet in the sand and the water. How would physiologically the juice affect that, if at all?
Well, just do the juice because it has electrolytes, it has the nutrients, and any type of any type of mutation in your body will get addressed by it. So,
are you familiar with electrosensitivity?
Yes, I'm familiar with it, and people have different issues based upon whatever was introduced to them to where They have certain sensitivities to food, electricity, to anything, whether it's some kind of post-traumatic disorder. It's, you have a mutation that needs to be dealt with. So, people do grounding, they do all these different therapies, but obviously it's not helping you, or you wouldn't be going back to those. So now you look at your body needs nutrition.
It's not an overnight process.
Well, here's the thing, hon. Just understand, go get my book, okay? Read it. Understand that nutrition is a major component in the healing process. The body was not meant to be sensitive and have these types of symptoms, okay? So, if some people say that they're special, that this juice won't heal their specific issue because it's so rare. There's so many rare diseases out there because there are new things that are being introduced to the body that's causing these malfunctions, whether it's EMF, whether it's an allergy to peanuts, or whether it's, the closing up of their vagina hole or something else. There's so many different types of mutations that happen. And so you just have to understand that nutrition is the major component. So that will be the last question, okay, for everybody. So, all right. So I must go, but I want people to understand that the human body needs nutrition, and nutrition does not discriminate. So if you have a malfunction in your body, regardless of what it is, nutrition will address it. Nobody is that special. Nobody is an alien. Nobody is that special where nutrition would not work for them. So if they truly want to understand how 11 different systems work and how nutrition works in conjunction, feel free to go get the book, read it at your own pace, and then you can take it or leave it. It's not going to be forced down anybody's throats. Okay? Hopefully that answers everybody's question so they don't ask all their special diseases, because it's all the same thing. You're dealing with a universal body. There is nothing that is that special. Okay? So. Okay, everybody? All right.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mary.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Miss Jillian, for coming on our show. Again, go to jillyjuice.com, pick up a book. Then also you can interact with the website and ask specific questions. Try the juice protocol for yourself and learn more about your body. Again, Jillian, we appreciate you coming on the show. We appreciate you, standing up to so many people in this world and in medicines in general, and giving something simple for people to do at home that costs pennies on the dollar to go buy for yourself and make for yourself. And that's what we're doing here. That's what we're doing. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no. That's just what we're doing. We're sharing what makes sense. We have live Skype. We have live Blog Talk radios. We have website. We have groups all over the place to share what makes sense. And you can visit, you can purchase fun kid books, ABCs and the Great Dreamers, New You Dream Course at www.new, that is 3 U's, UUU, foundation.org/new school-homeschool-worldwide. You can also visit www.wonderfulworldwideeducators.com. And again, you can reach out to any of us on Facebook and join any of the groups and learn more about becoming multidimensional and really paying attention to your real side experiences. That's actually how Kelsey found out about your protocol and was able to introduce it to many people. And then here we are today talking to you, so we appreciate you. And I'm just going to close it up with an excerpt of Dwayne's writing called The New Consciousness. Dwayne is the great writer. We wonderful worldwide educators are not here to change anything, but more so to provide real guidance and real education with the new consciousness that is a new created reference to the true reality life is, the all is, and the real universe is of real freedom. We are not trying to raise the existing old created confined consciousness that has been established for eons, as this could take an eternity. Because most people do not want to see more than what they already know here in their so-called la-la land. The existing deceptive systems of control are so heavily agreed to that what has been taking place throughout all of creation for the longest time is a huge demise that is not seen by most. The unaware masses have been marketed into devised belief systems that pertain to all the created restrictions in cause and effect creation, and not according to the real universes of real freedom for all. In the real universes, there are no authorities or gods or rules, regulations, or restrictions of any kind. You, the real you, is a free being of real light beyond anything your mind could ever imagine here. We is creating a new position to relate to that makes sense now with the whole of life, which is the all-natural environment supporting all of us. What we is sharing is how to recognize more than what is thought of here as the only reality there is. The world business controllers continuously bombard the unaware masses with so much deceptive marketing ploy to keep as many possible in a one-dimensional state of unawareness that is more than obvious to us universal super beings. This entire planet is purposely polluted and poisoned, and because the unaware have been seduced into agreeing to the idea of business as usual for their survival, the unaware masses keep agreeing to their own demise on a much bigger scale that is not seen by most throughout all of the realms of creation. The new consciousness is another created reference with the new presentation from the original New Man with Rebazar and Paul and the real universal guide. We are providing the real education everyone is looking for. We ask anybody to reach out for any future questions and to learn more about what it is that we're presenting, and definitely pick up a copy of Jillian's new book. Thank you so much for coming on, and everyone have a wonderful night.